Welcome to Big Loz Official. So last night I got back from Dubai from the World Ultimate Strongman Championships. What a week away! A really fantastic event. New to Strongman, these guys are new promoters, looking to do a lot more shows going down in the future. But some of you guys have asked me to do a report. I don't always do reports on shows that I've competed in, but as you asked for it, I thought why not? So first thing, I wanted to give you guys a bit of kind of behind the scenes information because obviously you might see the live stream and the videos that come out, but I wanted to tell you about how we've been treated as athletes and how impressed I've been with the promoters because not always the case. Firstly, just right from kind of picking me up at the airport, the hotel we stayed in, the treatment that we got as athletes, and also any of the athletes that brought their partners with them. Partners were treated really, really well, or coaches and things like that. So that's really nice to see. It's kind of a step up compared to some shows where you kind of your family and things are almost forgotten about. So it was quite nice to see family looked after. I actually went on my own, so it's quite lonely being on your own for 8-9 days, but it was good to see kind of families treated well, and I would definitely take Liz and the kids away with me, potentially in a future show for them. Often I just travel on my own because you're there for a job, you're there to compete and do a good job. And sometimes it can be distracting trying to worry about where your family are and if they're okay. But the way these guys kind of looked after them, it would be easy to just kind of focus on the show and not have to worry about them, know that they're okay. So firstly, Dubai, first time for me going to Dubai. Really nice experience. The hotel was just beautiful. We stayed at the Maiden Hotel, which you have a built-on racetrack. It's got one of the biggest race events of the calendar. They compete there, called the Dubai World Cup, and you can literally see it from my room. Got onto the balcony, open up the doors, and you're on the track. It's pretty amazing. If you're a big racing fan, it would be good to see. Unfortunately, I'm not, so I'm there for a strongman competition. But the hotel was great, room was great, food was great. I really can't fault it at all. So, onto the venue. The venue was pretty cool. It was like almost like a built amphitheater. There was a lot of things going on. They had like boxing going on, Shaolin monks. There was different events for families to do, and then the events were kind of staged all in different areas. So we had some of the truck pulls down out front, and then the main events were done up on the stage. A contest started with the truck pull, the standard truck pull. We had two truck pulls, arm over arm, and then a normal truck pull. And it was a really cool looking truck. It looked like a scene from Mad Max. It was just kind of, I mentioned that to some of my training partners. They don't even know what Mad Max is. They're a bit young, but I'm sure some of you will remember, and the remake as well. But it just looks really cool. It's kind of going back to what Strongman needs to be. It needs to be visually entertaining, and visually impressive. Sometimes some of the events you kind of, if you're into training, you understand how much things weigh. But when it looks impressive, then you're going to get people watching. And that's one thing they really tried to do, which I'll commend them for. They did a good job with that. First event was a truck pull. 30 metres. I can't even remember what the weight of the truck was. It wasn't the hardest truck we've ever done. And luckily I drew 12th, so I got to go out last and watch what the guys did. I had a real good start, made sure I got into my movement really quickly. It's an event I've actually been training really, really hard these last few months. An event I've always done okay on in the past, but I think the training I've put into it, like making sure I'm doing it every week, my technique was spot on, my conditioning was good, and I came in second place on the first event, which was just the perfect start that I needed. I kind of, in my head, had top 5 as a goal. So to come second on that event really put me into a good place, knowing that the next event was probably my worst event of the contest, which was the arm over arm. And arm over arm is just one of those events I haven't quite mastered. I've had days where it goes okay, but I don't know if it's just my build or what, but it just doesn't seem to suit me. It kind of suits more of the longer, rangier guys a little bit better. But I was pleased with how I did. I kind of attacked it and did as well as I could. I had the chance to go out a bit later watching some of the guys, and this time, unlike the normal truck pull, this was an extremely heavy pull. No one had finished it. So I kind of looked what some of the guys were doing, and they looked like they just burnt their legs out trying to use too much leg power. So what I tried to do was do some shorter pulls to keep my legs strong as it got to the harder bits as it went uphill. But unfortunately, I just kind of tired out my arms, the grip in my hands and my forearms just went. And I ended up, I think I was 11th on that. It was my worst event. But still, I'd set myself anything other than last on that would have been a bonus, and I came 11th. So it was always going to be my worst event, but got it out of the way, and I knew I had some good events to come. So just to kind of also say, the winner of the first event, Terry Hollands, awesome to see him kind of doing a really good truck pull again, showing everyone, even though he's lost weight, he's still one of the best truck pullers in the world. And then the winners, or joint winners, should I say, of the arm over arm were Kilias Koski and JF Caron, both tying for distance, which was unusual. There must have definitely been kind of like an incline or something that they both hit at the exact same distance. But those two boys put in a solid performance on that. And I think at that point, JF was winning the show overall, going into probably his best event, which is the deadlift. Deadlift was a solid setup. It was an 18-inch deadlift. I did an 18-inch deadlift, very similar setup, and failed 420 in Summer Mania early in the year. So I've really been training it quite hard. I've been focusing on 18-inch pulls rather than pulls from the floor. And I managed to hit a PB, which was 460. So for me, that was really kind of, that was my goal going in. I wanted to hit that PB, managed to pull it. Probably had a little bit more in the tank. I reckon maybe 470 would have gone. But the jumps that we were using were big jumps, and the next jump up was to 490, I think. So I decided to pass on that and save my energy, knowing I still had some good events to come. I think those big jumps, you've got to kind of be smart with them. You can attack it and give it your all, but if you know you're not going to get it, you're just wasting energy. So I tried to be smart, hold back, and watch some of the other guys go for it that then failed. And this, one of the criticisms I've got from this show, because there were some brilliant points as well, but a few things that they can definitely improve for next time. One, it went on for way too long, and this second event we were already like 4 or 5 hours in onto the third event. So it was almost like you've done a show already, and that kind of waiting around between events, it does drain you. You get very tired. You've got to try and warm up again, and it can kind of drain your energy. So I was trying to be smart and conserve as much energy as I could, knowing we still had some really brutal events to come. So the best deadlifters, JF Caron and Hafthor Bjornsson, both tying for first place with, I believe, 520 kilos. Both those guys, unbelievable deadlifters. JF Caron particularly, I mean, everyone knows that Thor is just an awesome strongman, but JF Caron gets very overlooked a lot of the time, and he's always kind of, people don't even talk about him, but that guy is, without question, one of the best guys in the world. Great to see him performing well, but he's very consistent. He always performs well, and with the right events, he's just so dangerous. And to beat some of the guys that he beat Brian Shaw on the deadlift. He's I think he was second on the deadlift at the Arnolds. He's absolutely one of the best deadlifters on the planet. And watching his lighter weights, you just stand there laughing at how easy he makes them move. So really impressive from JF, and he's a great strongman that you guys, if you don't know him, make sure you check him out, because he's awesome. Very, very consistent. Top 5 at Worlds, I think, for the last 3 years in a row. Top 5 in most contests that he does. Big contests. He's won a number of the Arnold shows. Just an awesome strongman. Just behind those guys was Constantine Janasha with 510 kilos, I think, which was a PB for him. Another amazing deadlifter. Janasha, I'd say this year he's kind of focused on getting a bit too big. I've kind of spoken to him, and a few months ago, I saw him, he was even bigger. He's actually started to lose some weight again, and he's getting to a more manageable weight to be better all round. Sometimes you kind of sacrifice some of that fitness to put on size and get the strength up, and I think he's done that, and now he just needs to bring up that conditioning a little bit more to be better all round. But his deadlift was unbelievable. 510 kilos is huge weights that are being lifted. But like from my personal point of view, I was really pleased with the deadlift. It was a good performance. Got extra points that I wanted. I knew getting that 460 would be important to beat a number of guys. Got me a lot more points, and a big PB. So definitely positive on that one. Then we moved to the Overhead Medley, which is an event I've been training quite hard and feeling really good on in training. So it was meant to be a 160 kilo log, 100 kilo dumbbell, 160 kilo axle, and then 140 kilo shield block implement. And in training, I'd really been focusing on doing the first three. I wasn't too fussed about the shield. I was kind of like, if I can do a good time on the first three, that'll score me good points. And my axle's been going really, really well in training. I really expected to. I kind of decided to pace myself and just make sure I got all three. Unfortunately, the axle was just way harder than everyone expected. I don't know if it was just the shape of it or the length of it, or if it was actually heavier than they said. But a lot of us failed that axle that would normally smoke 160 kilo axle. I mean, I did the 160 log, that went up easy. 100 kilo dumbbell felt really good. But then just lifting the axle off the floor, it felt heavier than the numbers kind of we were told. And looking back, I just made a little bit of a mistake by kind of going, I guess, pacing myself early on. If I got to go a bit later on in it, I think I would have gone quicker for the first two and maybe picked up a few more points. But ifs and buts don't really matter. I was pleased with how easy the first two went up. And, you know, when you see only 4 guys manage to press the axle, guys that failed include like Lysis, Zadrunas, you know, JF Karan, Janasha. We're all big pressers, and none of us could manage it. So I felt a lot better after seeing those guys fail, knowing that I really thought I should be pressing that kind of weight. But you know, Thor again put in a real solid performance to really start creeping up on kind of his kind of charge to win the show. Really, he did well on the truck pull, well on the arm over arm, but now he's starting to win events, winning the overhead, and then winning or joint first on the deadlift. He was starting to seal his place kind of towards that top end of the competition. I think that he would have been first or second going into the yoke after that, which was, the yoke was a brutal event. I'm very proud of how I did on it, but it's the heaviest yoke I've ever done in a contest. And I think it's the heaviest over such a long distance. I know the Arnolds do an extremely heavy yoke, but that's only over 3 meters, whereas this was 15 meters with 580 kilos. And just to put that into perspective, I had a friend message me saying that's more than my horse weighs. So you imagine getting a horse on your back and kind of trying to run down a road or a street. That's the kind of weights we're dealing with. I'm normally very, very confident on the yoke. Obviously, I've won it so many times in international contests, beating everyone. And I do generally believe when I train it, I'm the best in the world. But that being said, with that kind of weight, it sometimes changes it. You know, I'm used to 400 to maybe 480, that kind of weight I move well with. And I'm used to kind of contests with that kind of weight. This time, 580 kilos, I was actually, for the first time in years, nervous going in to do the yoke. I was actually saying to some of the guys that I was nervous before, and they were saying, well, if you're nervous, I'm going to be nervous. I'm like, you should be. This is heavy stuff. But I really got myself fired up. I kind of tried to focus on my own performance, not worry about what anyone else is doing. I got under it, lifted up, and it felt really heavy. But I started to move, and I actually felt, okay, the more I kind of got into it, the more confidence I built up. So I started getting into my rhythm, got up to a decent speed. Actually kind of had a little catch on the floor that kind of knocked me a little bit towards the end. If you've seen the video, I actually kind of almost twist a little bit towards the end and lose my balance. But before that, it was a real good solid run. And a world record for me on that, 15 seconds with 580 kilos over 15 meters. I was head and shoulders above everyone on that event. And really proud of it because I've had some of these guys, Kiliaskowski, Thor, coming up to me afterwards saying how good it was. And only, I think from the top of my head, 5 of us managed to finish the event. Most guys didn't even get halfway. It was extremely heavy, extremely brutal, and it just felt good to establish myself, not just on that event, but to be really competing at a high level again, and feeling good. And the big difference has been I've been able to have some injury-free training, and it's just really been beneficial, whereas the last few years there's always something that I'm kind of like niggling back from. And the big difference is I've just managed to kind of understand how to structure my training to not overtrain, and just, you know, have training where you're not worrying about rehabbing all the time. You're just focusing on making progress, and that's kind of the position I'm in right now. And this show is giving me that confidence that I can now start building on from where I am, and hopefully place even higher in some of these shows. But the yoke was a big performance for me. You know, it felt good. it's easy to like, I'm quite a relaxed, humble person most of the time, but it's nice to enjoy an event, and when you do well, the work that you put in, you should enjoy it. And I say that to any of the guys, if you work hard for it, enjoy it. We do, I've always said, all we do is lift stuff up and put it back down. But in that moment, enjoy it, make the most of it, and then back to training, win, lose or draw. We're always learning and always, aiming to do better. And I honestly believe I can go quicker. I said it wasn't a perfect run. I kind of had a little bit of a knock and lost my balance a little bit. I can definitely bring that time down if I have to. But I don't want to have that weight on my back for a little while just yet. I think some lighter some lighter yoke training, just working on speed, will be useful for the gym for the next few weeks. Last event we went into was the Atlas Stones. Brian and Hafthor were leading the show with Kilias Koski in third place. I went into the Stones I was in fifth place with Lissis just behind me. And Lissis being a good stone lifter, I was like, I was going head to head with him. I knew I needed a good performance. Watching the guys go, Tom Stoltman actually, he went first on the stones and he put in an amazing performance loading all 5 stones. And when the first guy goes, you kind of think, well, okay, it looks doable. You really have to, it's not until afterwards when you see everyone else go, you see how impressive his performance was. As only Brian Shaw was the only guy that managed to finish all 5 stones. Just so you guys know, this was the heaviest set of stones that I know of in a contest. The first stone weighed 170 kilos, second one 180, 190, 200 kilos, and then the final stone was 225 kilos. That's just crazy weights, even World's Strongest Man, where we've had I think 210 kilos is the last stone, but the first one is about 140. So 170 is the first stone. I've done contests where the 170 is the last stone. It just shows how heavy it was and how good Tom's performance was on the stones. I think Thor was in that position where he had a few points clear going into it and he knew where he needed to be, so he looked quite relaxed. He kind of, he was head-to-head against Brian. Brian put in a solid, really good performance to finish them all. But Thor was never under that pressure where, if it's a really tight show that you need to win the stones, that it can affect it a little bit more. He just knew what he needed to be and he professional performance, did what he had to do. From a personal perspective, I was up against Lissis, who I know is a very, very good stone lifter. I knew I would have my work cut out. I was lucky that I was a few points ahead of him, so I knew if I placed, in a certain position, I could hold on to 5th place. And I stayed really relaxed, focused on my first stone. First stone slipped a little bit, loaded up. Second one went up beautifully. I really did tacky stick well. It felt really easy. Third stone, the 190, I kind of had another slip. I had to reset. Looked up and I saw that Lissis was struggling on the second stone. So that meant I kind of steadied my nerves a little bit, calmed myself down, focused on the stone, made sure I put it up, and that secured the top 5 position for me. And it was a great feeling, to finish top 5 and essentially what's a World's Strongest Man, contest. The lineup was so strong. The events were brutally heavy. The show was amazing. The atmosphere was great. It's a big, big way to end the year for me. And giving me confidence that I can build on it still for next year. So I'm going to have some time off now, focusing on the British in January. That'll be my next big show that I'm going to concentrate on. And then we'll build from that. But I was really, really pleased with the performance, really happy with the kind of way the athletes were treated. These guys are looking at doing more shows. So they're going to have shows potentially in Saudi Arabia, China, India, and they're managing to get huge investment and they're looking for even more investment. So it could be an amazing opportunity for strongmen right now, for the sport, for the athletes, and just to see it keep pushing up and growing. I said beforehand, I was very, very honoured that they invited me. But I kind of, justified my position there. I showed I'm still one of the absolute best guys in the world. And it was a great feeling, to be honest, because you have some contests where they don't always go your way, but to go and compete with the best guys, to beat guys like Thor and Brian and Kilias Koski and, guys like that on certain events and really hold my own against the best in the world, it's a good feeling. I feel proud and I feel, ready to push on and do better. So exciting times. There's lots to kind of come. But for me, it was a brilliant show. I'm looking forward to doing more of them. My focus right now is going to be the British. That's kind of big. I think winning winning your national title is always big. I've obviously won the British 2 times. I won the UK Strongest Man. I would love to win the British again. And we've got so many good athletes in the UK right now. But I am going in full of confidence, and I will be giving my all in January. Make sure you get tickets if you haven't already to come and see that, because it's going to be awesome. I think Graham Hicks is doing it, myself, the Stoltman brothers, Terry Hollands, Mark Felix, as well as a whole load of up and coming British guys. Paul Smith, Phil Roberts, Aaron Page, and a few others as well. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head, but there's not one single name there that you look at and think, oh, that's like an easy win. They're all really good strongmen. And one little slip up for anyone is going to kind of cost them a lot. So it's going to be a good show, but this has given me confidence to kind of get back into the gym. I'm having a few days off now, spend it with the family, do some more recording, and then get back into the gym working hard for the 2019 season. If you guys have any questions you'd like to know about the competition in Dubai or my events coming forward, kind of just ask below. I'll try and get back to you when I can. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see. If you kind of like me talking about events that I've competed in, I prefer talking about other people. I'm not very good at kind of talking about myself. I like kind of watching shows. When I'm not competing, I quite enjoy just going to watch and analysing and looking at what other guys are doing. It's always weird doing it yourself. I do it from a kind of coaching perspective and an athlete perspective of where I need to improve, what needs to get better. And win, lose or draw, I always try and kind of look at shows and think, where can I improve, what can I do better? But it's weird kind of, I am proud about the yoke. It was a brutal event, but it's kind of always weird bigging yourself up in front of a camera. But it was something I think I'm entitled to be proud of. But like I said, I enjoy watching the other guys as well. But sometimes it's quite nice when I'm not competing to just focus on the other shows. And it's something I want to look at doing in the future. But right now I'm still competing and I've still got more to give. So we will focus on that, focus on getting better and hopefully having an even better 2019 season. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you think. Like, share and subscribe, please. The bigger I can get this channel, guys, the more stuff I can start doing. I've got so many ideas, but it's just financing it, to be honest, half the time. It's difficult. I've got a family to look after, my normal kind of work and training to focus on. So if you guys can help me grow this page, then I can start putting a lot more content into it, get a lot more videos out there. Hopefully you guys enjoy them. I know some of you do. So thank you very much for the guys that do and people that keep watching and liking. Thank you so much. But I best get going. Got some stuff to do now with the family. But I will see you guys soon and have a good week.